Welcome viewers. Today we will be discussing on the topic principle and methods of DNA sequencing. DNA sequencing is supposed to be one of the most important developments in the field of molecular biology, wherein the sequence of nucleotides which are present in a stretch of DNA or in a piece of gene is determined. This sequencing technology is in and around about 40 years since 1970. Initially, people used to carry on the sequencing of discrete genes, but from 1990 onwards, the technology has taken a giant leap, and now it has become possible to carry on the sequencing of entire genomes. And now we have got the sequence of entire human genome known to us. So, we are really very indebted to this technology and the scientists who have given rise to the development of DNA sequencing technology. First step will be extraction of DNA. Second will be PCR amplification of the DNA. Third will be gel electrophoresis and separation of the fragments, separation of the nucleotides, followed by bioinformatics study of the sequence that we have acquired from DNA sequencing technology. There are various DNA sequencing methods available in our system. First name that comes in our mind is Maxim Gilbert chemical sequencing. Second is Sanger's chain termination sequencing, which is supposed to be the most important development in the field of DNA sequencing, and this principle is still applicable in the high-end sequencing technologies. Third one will be pyrosequencing, bisulfite sequencing, next generation sequencing, namely 454 technology, and finally the Illumina sequencing. So let's start with Maxim Gilbert sequencing. Walter Gilbert and Maxim were the two brains behind the development of this technology. It is based on the principle that certain chemical compounds are used to chop up the DNA at a specific nucleotide. Say for example, there are certain chemicals that will cleave the DNA at the purine residues, specifically at adenine, or some of them will be cleaving at adenine plus guanine. Moreover, the DNA that was used is radiolabeled at the 5' end using gamma p32 radiolabeled isotope. You can see here that in one set the DNA is cleaved at G. On the other hand, there are certain chemicals that will cleave the DNA after A or G, means all the purines, and the third will be cleaving it at pyrimidines only C and T, and fourth one will be cleaving it at only the cytosine residues. You can see here in the reaction mechanism wherein dimethyl sulfate is used to carry on the methylation of the guanine residues, followed by ring opening in the alkaline conditions and beta elimination in presence of pi-pyrimidine. This reaction is similar to the one which is used for the hydrolysis of pyrimidines. Therein we use hydrazine followed by treatment with pi-pyrimidine to carry on the beta scission of the DNA. You can see here that we have got 4 different lanes. In one lane, we have got all the DNA fragments that got cleaved at guanine. In the second lane, we have got the DNA which got cleaved after G plus A, means all G and A containing DNA. If we compare between two, then we can get hold of the nucleotides wherein adenosine lies. Similarly, the lane gives us T plus C, and another lane gives us an idea about the places where cytosine exists. So, if we compare these last two lanes, then we can get hold of the places wherein actually thymine lies. And in this way, if we read all these 4 sequences and read it from the bottom to the top, then we can get hold of the DNA sequence in the 5' to 3' direction. Next important contribution was done by Fred Sanger. He established the chain termination method of DNA sequencing, wherein the sequencing is done during DNA synthesis by means of termination of DNA synthesis. Herein, he used a specialized nucleotide called DDNTP or dideoxynucleotidyl triphosphate, wherein you can see that in the 2' and 3' position, instead of OH, we have got hydrogen ions. And we all know that during chain elongation of DNA, OH plays a vital role. And if OH is absent in case of dideoxy-NTP, then chain termination will take place. The sequencing reaction basically was done on this very principle that dideoxynucleotidyl triphosphates were used, and whenever they got incorporated in the DNA chain, DNA synthesis stopped. And herein also the radiolabeled primers were used so that the DNA is radiolabeled at the 5' end. You can see here that the primer is radiolabeled at the 5' end, and the synthesis moves on from 5' to 3' direction. And wherever there is incorporation of dideoxynucleotides, the chain will terminate. So he made 4 different reaction mix. In each tube, there contains all the 4 DNTPs, but one dideoxy DNTP was present, as herein dideoxy ATP is present. So in this tube, all the reactions that will terminate will obviously terminate at adenosine residues. Similarly, in the second tube, as it contains dideoxy CTP, so the chain termination will take place after incorporation of dideoxy CTP. Herein, dideoxy GTP is responsible for termination, and in the fourth tube, wherever DNA terminates, it is dideoxy GTP. You can see the reaction how it was set. We used a template, a primer which was radiolabeled at 5' end was used, and the entire reaction was set wherein each tube contains all the 4 NTPs. In addition, only one variety of dideoxy NTP was added in each of the tubes. And all these 4 reactions were run independently and were separated on a sequencing gel. Therein, we can determine that the first lane contains the DNA ending up at adenosine, second at G, third at T, and fourth one at C. And if we start reading the sequences from the bottom to the top, as usual, we can get hold of the DNA sequence. Herein, DNA was visualized by carrying on autoradiography, as because the DNA was radiolabeled with gamma p32 ATP. The detection was initially done by radiolabeling of the primer. Nowadays, we use fluorescently labeled dideoxynucleotides. Means instead of primer, now we are using fluorescently tagged dideoxynucleotides. You can see here now the normal sequencing process has been replaced by cycle sequencing with the discovery of PCR. Now the sequenase enzyme has been replaced by a thermostable tagged DNA polymerase. Herein you can see that the sequencing reaction is carried on inside a thermal cycler or a PCR machine, and this is carried on for 25 cycles. Next, you can see that nowadays instead of running a slab gel, we can use capillary electrophoresis. And as because we are using all 4 different fluorescently tagged dideoxynucleotides, we can run all the reactions in single capillary instead of running 4 different lanes. The steps are, you have to purify the PCR product first, and second, set up the sequencing reaction, perform the cycle sequencing. Now, resolve the sequences fragments on a capillary electrophoresis and read the sequences in the order of the alignment or the addition of terminators. The fluorescent dyes that we are used are mostly rhodamine and fluorescent derivatives. So, what is done? In one case, we can use that the dye primer sequencing, wherein the primer contains fluorescent dye conjugated nucleotides, labeling the sequencing ladder at the 5' end of the chains. On the other hand, in dye terminator sequencing, the fluorescent dye molecules are covalently attached to the dideoxynucleotides. In this way, the dye terminator sequencing is carried on. Herein, you can see that different colors of fluorescent labeled DNA is seen, which can be recorded in the fluorescent recorder, and the reading is done according to their sizes. The DNA ladder is read in the electropherogram. As you can see here, this is how the reading is done, and the final version looks something like this. We are coming to the second generation of sequencing called pyrosequencing. Pyrosequencing is basically carried on to understand the minute differences or variations of the sequences among the similar individuals. Means herein it is done if the sequences are already known, but there are slight variations. To understand pyrosequencing is carried on. You can see here that it is based on the very principle that during incorporation of DNTP there is release of a pyrophosphate molecule, and this pyrophosphate molecule then interacts with APS, and in presence of sulfurylase enzyme it creates a molecule of ATP. And what this ATP does, that this ATP in presence of luciferin and luciferase enzyme gets converted into oxyluciferin that emits light, and this light is then recorded. So here in pyrosequencing, the DNA synthesis is carried on, and each and every nucleotide is added one after other, and the recorder will read the emission of light corresponding to addition of a particular nucleotide. Thereby the sequence is understood, and the important step is that after addition of each class of nucleotide, the treatment is done with a pyrase to inactivate the unused DNTPs, and see how the sequence is read in pyrosequencing. And what we can see here, that we can read almost about 300 base pairs of sequences in pyrosequencing. Bisulfite sequencing. It is done to understand the methylation patterns inside a DNA, as because the bisulfite deaminates cytosine to convert into uracil. And what else? That methylated cytosine is not changed by bisulfite treatment. So if we carry on the sequencing of a DNA before bisulfite treatment and after bisulfite treatment, then we can determine the cytosines which are methylated. So the methylation pattern of a DNA can be understood clearly by the pattern of bisulfite sequencing. As you can see here, that the treated sequences, here the cytosine has been changed by uracil, and the rest of the 3 cytosines are remaining constant. It means these 3 cytosines which are unchanged during bisulfite sequencing are the methylated ones, and hence showing resistance to bisulfite sequencing. In 1990, to understand the evolution of life, to understand nature versus nurture concept, and to understand various causes of disease. That's why we started looking for next generation sequencing. There are many technologies available in the next generation sequencing. The most promising one is 454 technology, which was established by Life Sciences company. What are the applications of it? That it is used for sequencing of whole bacterial genomes in a single run can be done, and sequencing genomes of the individuals can be done very easily. Metagenomic studies were done very nicely. What is done in 454 technology? The DNA is sheared into 300 to 800 base pair fragments, and its ends are polished and it is made blunt-ended. After that, adapters are added to each of the ends. The DNA is made single-stranded. One adapter contains biotin, which binds to the streptavidin-coded beads, as you can see here. And the ratio of the beads to the DNA molecules is controlled so that most beads get only one single DNA attached to it. Then oil is added to the beads to make an emulsion, and PCR is done to make many copies of one type of DNA. After that, what you can see here, that this PCR amplified product is introduced inside a picotiter plate, and the size of the picotiter plate is so that it can incorporate a single bead only. And then the pyrosequencing enzymes are attached to these beads, and added nucleotides are read with the help of a reader using fiber optic chips, and a CCD camera records the light emitted from each of the wells. Thereby we can get over and get hold of the sequence of the DNA. Here the principle is based on pyrosequencing technology is basically working. Illumina sequencing, which is carried on very often nowadays. Here we prepare the genomic DNA sample first. Next, it is attached to the surface of a slide. Then we add a unlabeled nucleotide and enzyme to initiate solid phase bridge amplification. Means the two ends of the DNA are added to the adapters and PCR amplification is done. The fragments become double-stranded and denature the double-stranded molecules. Then finally complete amplification is done, and we determine the bases, image of the bases are taken, and then the second base is determined. Shotgun sequencing is also a very promising technology. Herein the DNA is broken up randomly into smaller fragments, and dideoxy method produces the reads. And finally we need to overlap these reads. As you can see that we have fragmented the DNA, and each fragment is cloned inside a vector, and then they are transformed into a bacteria, and further each clone is sequenced separately. Those sequences are to be aligned properly to make it continuous. In shotgun sequencing, the most challenging job was to add these sequences or to overlap the sequences to get hold of the entire sequence. And to carry on this, initially chromosome walking was done. But now chromosome walking has got certain limitations, as because we have got certain pieces of DNA where there are chances of repeats, and that's why there lies the problem. So we need to have certain programs or certain softwares which can assemble those sequences. So the programs that are being used are PHRAD/PHRAP programs were developed by Phil Green and collaborators at Washington University, St. Louis. They initially developed the softwares which can very efficiently align the sequences and make it a continuous read. And finally, the PHRAP first examined all the reads matching the words, and then it were aligned together. This technology is really working nicely to carry on the sequencing of larger genomes, and we are in a position, we have already gone through the Human Genome Project. So in today's lecture, we have discussed the importance of DNA sequencing. We have gone through Maxam-Galbert sequencing principle. We have understood the Sanger's dideoxy method of DNA sequencing technology. We have also highlighted on pyrosequencing and bisulfite sequencing, 454 technology, and we have also elaborately studied the Illumina sequencing, and finally the softwares that are used to add these sequences. Thank you.